all things considered. How about you?
I'm good. I think I'm prepared. So life is good when I feel prepared. When I don't feel prepared, well, life is still good. I just have a hard time accepting that. Kay, if you would.
Okay. So we light this candle in recognition of and appreciation for the Christ light within each of us and the presence of the divine in our gathering.
And Maestro, let's see. Let me share my screen here. Do-do-do. And oh, wait a minute. Oh no. Oh.
What?
Oh no.
No. Okay. Now I feel better. We're cooking with gas now. There and there and there. Okay. Flowing out from you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Peace is flowing like a river, flowing out from you and me, flowing out into the setting all the captives free. Joy Let's all take a deep breath and And if someone would, let's have our affirmation of living water unity together, please. Living water unity is a thriving spiritual community inspired to embrace and share our abundant good now. I am empowered for joyful living by expressing God in each moment. If someone would read our daily word.
I can do that.
Okay.
I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. It has been said that the world needs more love. The truth is that all the love the world could ever need is already present everywhere because God is love, and God is present everywhere. Created in God's image, I am divine love in human expression. I know that love is much more than a positive feeling. Divine love is the energy of oneness itself. As I remain centered in divine love, I know oneness in God with all people, including those who are dear to me and those I've never met. Divine love helps me see good everywhere and in everyone. I look beyond conflict and limitation and find the good that is always mine to discover. Scripture for today is Beloved. It's from chapter 1 of John 4:7. Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God.
So, our prayer time as most of you know now, is a time of offering our prayers and singly, individually, and considering those prayers for a few seconds. I will complete that, and so it is. And then we will go to a next offered prayer. But to begin with, remember that prayer is not about changing the circumstances of our lives, but rather changing our consciousness so that we are more capable, more effective in our response to those circumstances. So we do that through the offering of unconditional love. We've been talking about resource anchors in Tara Brach's terminology, and I've been talking about touchstones, but we find that touchstone and we feel that unconditional love that comes from that, and we offer that during our time of consideration for each prayer. So we'll begin with our affirming prayer. We know that God is a love that has no end and a power that knows no bounds. God's healing power of divine life is restoring, healing, and revitalizing our world in this very moment. We let go of any fears or anxieties, and we affirm that all are safe, healthy, and protected. We bless all those who support us in maintaining vibrant, radiant health, and we express divine life in all we think, say, and do. We bless our global family with radiant health, peace of mind, and abundant love. And now is the time for offered prayers. It might help if I unmute all. So, if anyone has offered a prayer thus far, my apologies, I had all the microphones turned off. So if you would, repeat that prayer.
I would like to offer prayers for our country with all the violence and the pandemic. Just a global prayer for our country and for the world.
Could you just put this on full screen?
And so it is.
I'd like to offer a prayer for our friend Patricia O'Neill, who moved to Johnstown recently, and she is battling lymphoma right now, and is, of course, very isolated. She has family there, but she doesn't have friends.
And so it is.
I'd like to ask for prayers and support for my daughter, who not only does she have to go into these COVID places, but this week actually where she needs to go is downtown Minneapolis. So I am getting even more concerned. She's going to be right in the heart of where all the destruction is. So not only is she trying to keep herself safe from COVID, now she has to deal with this. And the second one is I'd also like to share a thought of gratitude for the astronauts on Dragon that docked with the space station this morning, and hope them good travels and good science.
And so it is.
As always, I'd like to offer prayers of protection, safety, and health for all of our frontline workers, whether it be our garbage collectors or our mailmen or the people in the grocery stores, our health workers, all of them. But most especially Janine Stanley and Rose Felica.
And so
I would
it
like
is.
to, oh, sorry.
No, that's all right.
I would like to express gratitude for those people that I saw on TV this morning going downtown and trying to clean up the mess. The volunteers, the many volunteers that have their hearts in the right place and are trying to contribute to solutions rather than causing problems. The whole thing yesterday and the day before was so distressing to so many of us. And it was nice to see someone trying to do, or some trying to do, a better thing. And David, I will mention that for some reason or another, the screen is still keeping the affirming prayer with a big black square in front of it.
Thank you. Those control boxes pop up when I'm closing my eyes, and so thank you. And considering your prayer of those volunteers that are helping in the cleanup.
And so it is.
And so it is. I'd like to offer a prayer for my daughter who's having some existential challenges right now. That she find peace of mind and love. And so it is. And for all of those in our hearts who we hold in the light, seeing them lifted and transformed by the realization of the unconditional love of God. We hold them in consciousness, we see them lifted, and we see them transformed by this realization of love. And for all of this, together we say, Amen.
Amen.
Oh, boy. So, I'd like to share with you a video that I ran across by Daniel Namad, and this is both a combination of New Thought music and rap. So all of those of you that are into rap, I think you'll have a connection with this. For those of you that are not into rap, well, that's okay. You'll still have a connection with this. But let's do this. Do 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 do. Oh, I'm sorry. Rap is next special music.
What do I do if I'm not chasing anything? What do I do if I've got everything that I need? It's a question that no one's prepared me to answer. Where do I go if I'm right where I'm supposed to be? Where do I go if wherever I am home? It's a question I'm presently wanting to answer. If the usual way doesn't work for me now, it's a void I know nothing about. What if the race is over and we all automatically win? What if the game is ended long before it even begins? What if the test has been taken and we're all passing again and again? If the race is over, what then? What do I say if it's all perfect anyway? What do I say if I'm not here to change anyone? It's a question I truly don't know how to answer. How do I live if my life is eternity? How do I live if I'm no longer afraid to die? It's a mystery, no one can give me an answer. If the usual way doesn't work anymore, there's no map for what life has in store. What if the race is over and we all automatically win? What if the game is ended long before it even begins? What if the test has been taken and we're all passing again and again? If the race is over, what then? What is the purpose of time here on earth? How do I now define my death and birth? For that matter, what is my life really worth in the end? What's mine to give and what's mine to receive? Whom do I worship? What do I believe? Seems every answer comes right back to me in the end. What if the race is over and we all automatically win? What if the game is ended long before it even begins? What if the test has been taken and we're all passing again and again? If the race is over and we're all born victorious, if the race is over, what then?
David's on mute.
So where was the rap?
That's a good question.
David, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
So many controls. So many controls.
Now we can.
That was very pretty.
So where was the rap part, David?
I just, the rap part is, that was anticipation for the second selection. No, I was I wasn't sure whether I was going to have the rap the first or the second. I decided the second. I forgot that I'd made that choice. So
I thought you were going to bust a groove.
forgive me. Forgive me. That's what this talk is about. This is forgive me. So, are you captured by your unreal other? I'd like to hear from you all about how you're feeling about this week.
Been fairly worried. I have a brother in Minneapolis, right downtown, lives in South Minneapolis. Spoke with him yesterday. Things are kind of tense there, and as you might imagine. So a little preoccupied in his safety. But apparently things in the neighborhoods are going relatively well. It's just in the main commercial areas where there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling fairly devastated, not just about the riots, because I know that's what has been in our faces and what we're worried about right now, but I am very worried about the cause of the riots with this ongoing issue.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of rumors, but I haven't heard anything substantial about it. There are people in Minneapolis who are not from Minneapolis. There were people in Denver from Denver. I heard from my friends in Park Hill.
Mark, I was referring to the death of black men.
Oh yes, of course.
That's not that's I just to clarify.
Yes, the cause of the violence, however, is kind of crazy. Because there were peaceful protests during the day, they're getting their message out, and then in the evening, things go absolutely crazy, and it just seems like a different group of people.
It is a different group of people. They are different. You watch one group leave, you watch the other one come in.
Yeah.
It's not for the same reason. But that's, in my memory, it's always been like that. Always.
Yeah. The 60s were like that, too. They were like that, too.
I was watching Don Lemon last night on CNN, and he was interviewing someone who said that there's a difference between the protesters and the rioters. And I was struck by that.
Yeah. I feel that there's such polarization right now, and the cause is a wonderful cause, and we all identify with that. But the radical left and the radical right is just out of control, and there are a lot of outsiders that are coming in and doing things to destroy our city, and that makes me very angry. I'm sure you all saw this morning about the guy that in the black car that ran into 4 policemen intentionally and put 3 of them in the hospital and a pedestrian. There's no excuse for that. What's that?
I'm sorry, I was saying it to myself. I hadn't seen that yet.
Yeah,
Where did that happen?
It was gross, and they're looking for the car and the driver. But the point is that protest is what our country is about. I mean, that's what our democracy is founded on, but not to destroy and to just destruct things. I feel, because I have a son who's a restaurant owner, and I see what he's struggled with the last week in just trying to get his business back open in Fort Collins. And I see all these places downtown Denver who have just started coming back, and now they're being destroyed and boarded up, and it's so sad. I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. But I just think there's so much media, social media right now, that is very, very fear-arousing. And I wrote to one of my friends and asked her not to pass on things to me that are involving this kind of fear. I don't want to see it. I just tune it out. She says, well, do you want to unfriend me? And I said, no, I just don't want to read that kind of stuff. So, it's a tough time.
I find it interesting that we are, how the riots are taking attention away from the core issue that the protesters are trying to address. As I note here, we are just talking about riots. and that is not the core issue of what has caused all of this. What was behind it. So that's rather interesting to me. It's taken attention away from the things that have initially happened that caused all the anger.
It's a distraction, and because it's such a distraction and it grabs your opinion. I mean, burning buildings are very distracting. It's frightening. So your attention is going to go there, and we're going to forget the fact that the relatively innocent young man was murdered in front of a crowd, and no one did anything about it. And the only reason, apparently, that they didn't do anything about it was they didn't like what color it was. And I don't know how deep that goes in Minneapolis, but I mean, it's hard to watch that video and not see the truth. And the truth just got glossed over with all this violence, and we can't lose the thread that we need to change our society. We need to change how we see people.
So where's that change going to occur? I mean, do we need different legislators? Do we need different leadership? Where's that change going to happen?
No, I mean, the first change, obviously, is within ourselves. We have to change how we perceive the world that's going on around us. And then that will precipitate us making other changes that maybe mean changing legislators, maybe changing government constructs, maybe changing our awareness. Forcing our police forces to do things that they may not want to do right now. I don't know, but the first change is the one we can control. That's ourselves.
Well, it's easy to cast blame, isn't it? I mean, we see the video, particularly in this age of ubiquitous video. We see the video, and there's the policeman with his knee on the neck of this man, and why? You know, what's this about? He wasn't doing anything that is threatening to you. He's being submissive. He's trying to follow orders. At least that's the impression that we get. And we see from another video, we see two other of the policemen with their body weight on the man. So it's not as if he was going to pop up and threaten them. So what was the point? Well, it turns out that Floyd and I don't remember the policeman's name, but it turns out that they worked at the same club all of 2019. One was an outside security, and Floyd was a bouncer, an inside security. And so did they know each other? There's no indication that they did. But if they did know each other, how does that change our opinion? You know, how does that change how we see that situation? And then we find out that that George Floyd was a porn star. Okay, well, does that change our opinion? All of these factors, you know, the fact that our opinions are so fluid would indicate that maybe our opinions need to be reconsidered as something that's not reliable, something that we really can't count on. There's I'd like to share with you a passage from Tara Brach. She wrote the book Radical Forgiveness, and I'd like to share with you that I say that. Okay. Okay. There we go. David. Control, David, control. I know you can do this. I know that you can do this. And this is interesting. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Stop.
Hey, David,
Stop.
while you're trying to find that, I saw Tara Brach on TV on the pandemic thing on Channel 7.
Yeah.
She was speaking about the deep breathing that you had us do. I don't know if anybody saw it. It was around 1 o'clock this week. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. She's quite a lovely person.
Thank you. That takes that takes up some of my. That gives me an opportunity to fix this, whatever this is. Frankly, I'm.
She was very serene and just very calming, and I need calm. That's what I like. I liked your song today because it was so calming.
This is just not working the way I thought it was going to work. Now we can get to it. All right, here we go. So, in her book Radical Compassion, bear with me as I share 3 slides with you, but this seems to capture this idea. We've all been wounded by others, neglected, not seen, rejected, disrespected. Are you seeing this?
No.
No. Okay.
But we can listen.
One of these days, I'm going to get my pilot's license for this process. All right.
Can't word him, and he goes, "Yeah, I can."
So, we've all been wounded by others, neglected, not seen, rejected, disrespected. Many of us, and those we love, have been abused or devalued and systematically oppressed because of our sexual orientation, gender identity, race, or religion. Anger has an intelligence. It is an essential survival emotion. We need to pay attention when it mobilizes our bodies and fills our minds with stories of wrongdoing. It alerts us to marshal our energies against obstacles to our well-being, to create better boundaries, to defend ourselves from physical threats, to make our needs or views heard when we've been silenced. And on a societal level, anger in response to oppression can energize the call for justice. Yet, as Buddhist teacher and author Ruth King writes, anger is not transformative. It is initiatory. It's an energy we need to use wisely. Interesting that in this talk series on radical compassion, this topic was up next. So she goes on to say that chronic blame and resentment almost always signal a painfully limiting trance. As the on button becomes jammed, our anger hardens into armor around our heart. Like a scab that never falls off, it prevents the light and warmth of awareness from healing our wounds. It leads us to react from fear rather than respond to our circumstances with wisdom. And it separates us from others, undermining understanding, empathy, and intimacy. And she goes on, when we're caught in the trance of anger and blame, our survival brain shapes every dimension of our experience. Our bodies are tense, our hearts numb or constricted, our thinking is agitated and rigid. The thicker the trance, the less we have access to our prefrontal cortex, the home of reason, mindfulness, and empathy. Now think for just a moment about what the protesters and, if you will, the rioters are thinking. They're out there. They're trying to make a point. Some choose a violent approach. Some choose a peaceful approach. But to one extent or another, every one of those people on the street and everyone in front of the television watching those people on the street are having an experience of this armor being formed around our hearts. And as you say, Mark, that distraction by the riots and the protests over the fundamental issue here is it has a hardening effect on us. So we're caught in the trance of anger and blame. Our survival brain shapes every dimension of our experience. Our bodies are tense, hearts numb, constricted. Our thinking is agitated and rigid. So we take on this anger. We see some kind of solution, not necessarily resolution, but we see some kind of solution that takes us into that activity. And that process is one that causes us to create a barrier to our addressing these issues with compassion and reason. So this cutoff from our whole brain dramatically impacts how we perceive others. Rather than heal real beings with subjective feelings like ourselves, they become what I call unreal others. That is, our attention focuses on their faults, their differences from us, on how they are threatening or impeding us. At the same time, our self-sense narrows and we become an unreal self, identified as a victim, identified with our righteous anger. And when the aperture of our attention contracts in this way, we are living below the line, unable to feel connected with others or at home with ourselves. So this process that we're looking at of this armor being formed around our hearts is one that really is it impacts our ability to respond with empathy, our ability to look at the global situation and put the individual event in the context of the global situation. So we are, all of us have the, to one extent or another, we are impacted by this dynamic of placing blame, shifting our perception, and creating an unreal other that we can vilify. So, to one extent or another, I'm not saying everybody does it 100%. I'm not saying that no one is down in the single digits in terms of percentages along this spectrum. But what I am saying is that this is a dynamic that is a consequence of our human nature. And so the spiritual path is about overcoming that opportunity for vilification. If we look at what Jesus had to say about this in Matthew 5:43 to 48, he says, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect." Actually, the Greek word for perfect is complete. Be complete, therefore, as your heavenly Father is complete. And think about that phrase, be complete as your heavenly Father is complete. And when you are able to realize that you are a divine being, it's not about being a perfect being, but it's about being complete in your perception of yourself. And if you are complete in your perception of yourself as a divine being, then you are much less likely to vilify the other. Rather, you are opening the door to forgiveness. You're opening the door to opportunity to realize that that other person is as human as you are. That other person is subject to mistakes as you are. That other person is a child of God, to one extent or another, aware of their divinity, to one extent or another. And we can look back on our own experience and we can see times when, oh my God, that was a shameful act. That's really embarrassing to think about that. And believe me, I have instances in my past and even in my present where the opportunity to forgive myself is abundantly clear. So this transforming the other into an unreal other, one that is strictly evil, one that has no redeeming value, one that is obviously not a child of God, one that is wasting space on this planet. When we transform the other to that, we are making that other unreal, because that's not the truth of who they are, because it's not the truth of who we are. We are, as everyone that walks this planet, everyone that is on this planet, perhaps the whole planet itself, is a divine entity attempting to express that to the degree that it is self-aware. So when we are looking at our others out there, do we make them unreal? Do we create a perception of them? And this is our own creation, right? It's strictly our own creation. Our experience is totally, completely engaged within our own consciousness. Our experience is completely our own creation. Now, we have events that occur before us. We have opportunities to respond to those events, and the degree to which we are self-aware as divine beings will determine the course of our response to those events. There's a quote that I'll share with you by an individual named Charlotte Jocko Beck. She says, "Our inability to forgive is directly related to our inability to feel joy in our life." Our inability to forgive is directly related to our inability to feel joy in our life. Now, we could rephrase that, and we could say our ability to forgive indicates our ability to feel joy. And we could also say that forgiving opens the door to joy. And a little commercial plug, about 10 years ago, I put together an ebook called Joy, A Simple Choice. It's an Amazon ebook. If you're interested, it's $3. But the idea is that when we are willing to forgive, we are opening the door to our ability to feel joy. And without that, if we're not willing to forgive, then what we're doing is we're locking ourselves into, hang on just a second, I need to recover here. Again, my captaining of this event is, there should be some certification process to allow us to engage this without a whole lot of, all right, there we go. So, our ability to forgive is related to our ability to feel joy. And that feeling of joy is really about realizing our divinity and realizing our connectedness with the all that is all. So, as we consider then our opportunity here, then we look at what Tara Brach has been teaching in her Radical Compassion, and that is the RAIN process. The RAIN process is a process of recognizing, allowing, investigating, and nurturing. Again, sharing our screen. So the recognize is to when we're feeling charged, when we're feeling our buttons pressed, when we're feeling that transforming of the other from a real to an unreal other, we can recognize that and see how that is making us feel. We can recognize the tension in our body. We can recognize the closing of our hearts. And then the allowing is to also say, okay, well, got it. This is the way I'm feeling. And the way I'm feeling is the way it is. And so if I try to ignore how I'm feeling, then I'm not going to be able to continue with this transformative process, but allowing it to be as it is for now. Then we can investigate. We can investigate why we're feeling this way. We can investigate what prompted us to go down that path of transforming the other into an unreal. And in the process of investigation, we also turn our attention to the interior experience. Where am I feeling it in my body? Placing our attention on that place that we are feeling it. How is the how is this affecting the rest of our day? Is this a thought cascade that is going to affect us 3 hours from now, or is this just a momentary thing that we can transform? I look at this idea that the events in our experience initiate a thought cascade that we choose. I mean, we can always choose to look at the glass half empty, or we can choose to look at the glass half full. Sorry, that's a worn out adage, but I'll use it again. But how we choose to look at any event is really up to us. So we investigate what the effect of that thought cascade is. And then we come to the nurturing process. And the nurturing process is what Tara Brach talks about when she refers to the idea that we have available to us. In the interior, we have available to us resource anchors that allow us to feel unconditional love. Those resource anchors may be a mythical figure. It may be some perception of a Godhead that we hold dear to our hearts. Some people look upon Jesus and talk about a personal relationship with Jesus. So the resource anchor that you use is totally up to you. And there's a whole spectrum that you can choose from. I talk about touchstones, and the touchstone for me are those experiences where I feel unconditional love. And you've heard me say numerous times that for me, my resource anchor, my touchstone, is the experience that I have holding my grandchildren. So what we choose as our resource anchor is up to us, but recognizing that we have those resource anchors, recognizing that we can choose then to use them, to pull them forth, to make use of those thought processes. They're all thought processes in our consciousness. I point to my head, but our consciousness, whatever our consciousness, whatever the boundaries of our consciousness is. But this resource anchor then allows us to nurture ourselves, to forgive ourselves, to allow our that inner experience of unconditional love to transform our whole thought cascade, to redirect that thought cascade from the vilification of the unreal other to the empathy for the real other. Was there something that the policeman experienced in his prior relationship? Not to say that made it all right, but rather if we allow ourselves to picture the other as a divine being to whatever extent that they are aware of that, and oftentimes we would perceive that they're not aware of it at all, but it allows us to open ourselves to the realization that we are truly captains of our own experience. We are responsible for how we react to the events that are played on the stage before us. And that response determines what our experience is. That response is our experience. So we have that choice, and that choice can be empowering. The realization of that choice can be empowering if we fully recognize that it is completely our choice. So as we look upon the events of this week, as we consider how we have responded to the events of this week, and at the same time recognize that those responses open us to joy, or they open us to the experience of hell in our consciousness. And we have that choice. So I'd like to invite you to come into a time of meditation here. As you center yourselves before the altar of God, that place within you where is reliably a place of peace. Allowing yourself then this opportunity of quiet. As you sit in your chair, as you lie in your bed or whatever posture you're in, just scan your body for any points of tension. And allow your posture in whatever orientation it is, allow your posture to be as relaxed and alert as possible. Your head balanced over your shoulders, the tension in your feet, in your legs, in your buttocks, your torso, your shoulders, your arms, hands, tension in your face. Take a deep breath and just let that go. Breathing in and breathing out. Feel yourself relaxed. Breathing in and breathing out. As you breathe, breathe all the way up under your collarbone. And as you exhale, exhale all the way down and pushing your stomach back to your backbone, evacuating your lungs completely. I invite you to bring to mind someone that you have made an unreal other. Consider the circumstances in that transformation. What caused you to feel that way? What was the circumstance? What was the situation? What was the relationship before and after that transformation of the real to the unreal? Where in your body is that transformation being most vividly felt? Is it a tension? Is it a strongly held opinion? Is it a feeling of constriction? With that unreal other in mind, feel how it feels in your body. And allow that feeling to be for now. Allow that feeling to relax. Investigate how that feeling is affecting your moment. Where does that feeling lead your thoughts? What is the thought cascade that emanates from that transformation of the real to the unreal? breathing in and breathing out. Are you willing to allow your day to be further disturbed by this situation, by this relationship? Are you willing to open yourselves to the healing of that, to the dissolution of that tension, of that constriction? Are you truly willing to step into the maw and say, enough? I've done that. I've been there. I'm finished with that. And then call upon your resource anchor, your chosen touchstone. Bring that to mind, whatever that is. And allow yourselves to forgive yourself for that distraction. Allow yourself to be open to the healing. Feel that embrace of unconditional love that is not sourced from you, but flows through you. And allow that unconditional love to express itself in your moment, unconditionally. And for this unreal other, extend that unconditional love, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve it. Allow that unconditional love to flow through you, to move to every corner of your consciousness, to illuminate the dark corners, to transform the cascade of thoughts, to redirect that cascade. Allow yourselves to be ready to accept the healing that will come with this nurturing embrace of unconditional love. Breathing in and breathing out. This unconditional love is a transformative agent. It truly allows us to move out of that prison of joyless experience into the wide open horizons of joy and peace, gladness. And while this experience is embracing us right now, we forgive ourselves if we forget, but give ourselves permission to think once again of the unconditional love, knowing that this is a process. It's not a trip to a destination, but it's a process that is ongoing. We are empowered to be the expressions of this unconditional love from our birth. And the choice to do so is totally up to us. So breathing in and breathing out and realizing this, we give thanks. I'd like to share with you this song by Daniel Namad and Nemo Patel.
It's burning inside, the hurting and the suffering minds, creating anger, fear and pain, suffocating our times. The tougher it gets, the rougher social media cries. But we see to it that we tweeting only negative lines. We're sick and tired of history, but repeating it twice. Greed, anger and violence, clearly stealing our nights. Feeling it tight between the shoulders with the chill in the spine. Pinching myself, waking up, trying to stop the rewind and move forward towards stories, overcoming our fears. Choosing love over hate, praying, trading hugs over tears. There's only one choice, breaking down the walls and repair every broken heart on this planet till there's no longer fear. Walls can't hold us in. Fear can't keep us down. Love will rise again. Yeah, it's rising right now. We shall overcome. Every time I think it's gonna take much longer, we shall overcome. Every time I question, am I getting stronger? We have just begun. Gonna make a change, we gotta push much farther. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Whoa. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Young Gandhi couldn't fathom how to deal with himself when he was thrown off the train and the pain that he felt. Mrs. Parks disrespected, dragged into jail because of the color of her skin, organs, tissues, and cells. One day, a young girl was shot on a bus by a man, a terrorist, part of the Taliban. He said, on this land, you have no right to stand for what you believe in. Girls have no chance here. Well, now, that's just the story of 3 souls who shook our planet after being down on their knees. And it's not gonna stop. Those seeds have now become trees, and as human beings, we'll keep on digging till we find peace. Yeah, the cynics always say that nothing ever changes. The human nature's bound to stay the same. But it couldn't be more plain that violence never pays, injustice never stays. It's bound to fade away. What if history awaits? What if today's the day? So let's all lead the way. We shall overcome. Every time I think it's gonna take much longer, we shall overcome. Every time I question, am I getting stronger? We have just begun. Gonna make a change, we gotta push much farther. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Come on now. Sing now. We shall overcome. Every time I think it's gonna take much longer, we shall overcome. Every time I question, am I getting stronger? We shall overcome. Make a change, we gotta push much farther. 'Cause I'm feeling it deep in my heart. Deep in my heart. I do believe. I do believe. I do believe. We shall overcome someday. Yeah. Come on, put your hearts together. Here we go. Woo! I knew it. God had a plan for us to do it. To hit rock bottom before we rise and continue. To first learn greed before we learn to be human. To do wrong deeds before we learn to spread beauty. There's always a plan, and now it's time to take a stand for the rights of the planet, every woman and man. We ain't gonna stop, only growing our demands for all beings to feel peace in every heart and land. Thank you, Lord, for the strength and the courage to bring us together and keep our souls nourished. These tough times will only drown in our chorus, cause we all believe that the truth is before us. We shall overcome this pain. We shall overcome this day. We pray for love to lead the way. We shall overcome.
David, you totally got to post that video. That's awesome.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I've played that through. I don't know, 8 or 10 times, and every time it's just wow, wah, ha, ha. Yeah, thank you. So let's have our offering, and oops, let's see. Here we go. All right. You know what? I embedded that video. Am I able to? No, I'm not able to do that. So I'll just have to go back and oh my goodness. I just blew the rest of the presentation. I just exited PowerPoint. Let's see what we got here. Did it come up? I'm guessing that it's going to come up. Yes, it's going to come up. I know it's going to. I know it's going to. Thank you, Doug. Thank you. All right. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. All right. Now, here, let's just do this together, please. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love because I trust in God. And thank you for your contributions to our experience here. We'll do Let There Be Peace without our slide. Most of you know the song. We'll do that. Doug, if you would, please. Together, please, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Kay, if you would, please.
So as we prepare to release our circle and extinguish this flame, we honor the divine light it represents, and we carry that light within us into the world to protect us, to illuminate us, and to guide our actions.
So, you all are unmuted, I think. Well, I attempted. You'll have to unmute yourselves, I guess.
Now, are you going to cut the Facebook feed while we just talk? Or?
Thank you.